I love being triggered by delusional women. It's a hobby. What's up? I'm Nina, and this is the Panic Button. I'm going to be reacting to a debate on what is a woman.
I'm asking the question, what is a woman?
It's kind of like when you look at it, you know what it is, but it's hard to define. So you look at a woman and you're like, this looks like a woman for the most part. What is a female is obviously like somebody with like XX chromosomes and blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
What is a woman is somebody who looks and presents as a woman. And I know a lot of people are like, oh no, it's biology. But let's be honest, no one checked my genitals or my chromosomes before calling me a woman on here. And I didn't check anybody else's chromosomes or genitals.
We don't need to. We look at you, we see your small frame, we hear your tiny voice, and we just assume. And 99% of the time, we're correct.
Before calling them a woman.
So it's how they look like their physical
Present,
appearance?
how they act.
Their performance, yeah.
Also, I hate that we have taken what a female is. Like, we were all on board. A female is a woman is a girl, blah, 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 you know. But now the crazy gender people came in and were like, we're going to make it so we can self-ID. So now a woman is something different than a biological female. It's like when they divided sex and gender the same way. They did it on purpose so that men, creepy guys, can slither their way in. But also so people can gain social credit points by claiming to be something that they're obviously not, which is oppressed. So I don't like that now woman doesn't mean female. It means dude in a dress, pretty much. Which, as a lesbian, I ain't for. Do I have to say now that I'm into biological females because these crazy people decided to change the word of woman? They changed it for them, not for me. These dense women decided that in order to be inclusive, just like a biological female would because of our natural empathy and sympathy, they decided that they felt bad for the man in a dress. And decided, oh, you could have our word. Go ahead. This is empathetic suicide. This is sympathetic suicide. Pretty much, you are it's like not nepotism. What's the word I'm thinking of? The word where you pretty much give everything away, so you have nothing for yourself, and you're just giving everything that you have. To other people. It's like the opposite of, what is that word called? Okay, so this is the same as being altruistic. These ladies are doing the same thing, and they have no idea that they're doing it. They think they're just being inclusive, but the overall, if we keep going in this direction, the overall result will be the eradication of gays and lesbians, parents' rights, the eradication of protection of children, protection of women, women's sports. They're kind of the type of people who want to see the world burn as long as they're the ones standing above watching. They know who to target, and these ladies are definitely a very easy target because they're so sympathetic and yet so horrifically altruistic.
Yeah, it's how they perform, basically.
Okay.
I believe a woman is both a biological woman that identifies as a woman and a transgender woman that identifies as a woman.
So a man.
And I would like to comment on what you said about God made men and women. Mm-hmm. I think I saw a TikTok or, some quotes on TikToks a couple of times where it said God created transgenderism for the same reason that he created grapes but not wine. So that the same way that we created grapes but not wine.
No. I was going to say, if we saw it on TikTok, it must be true.
Must be true.
The same reason he created grapes and not wine? That makes no sense. You're relating a man to a grape and a trans woman to wine? If you saw it on TikTok, then, it's definitely true. That's crazy. No. You're telling me that God created you messed up on purpose? That makes no sense.
Wait, no, let her finish.
Must be
Let her
true.
finish her sentence.
Yeah, I'm not even like laying down any facts or any biblical.
I'm also not religious, so I grew up in the Catholic Church. I was raised a Roman Catholic. I was in a private Catholic school run by nuns for quite some time of my young life. So, yeah. I know the whole God thing.
Okay, go ahead.
But he created grapes, but not wine. He created people that want to create something. So like it's so that we as humans can experience the act of creation is why transgenderism exists and it's not a sin in, my opinion.
So then, why does cancer exist? Because if being trans means that you're uncomfortable in your own body, so you feel wrong, God created you to feel wrong, so does the grape feel wrong? I don't understand what the fuck she's saying.
Can I add something? But would it be a sin if you're kind of changing what God made?
Is it a sin to dye your hair or to get a haircut? Or
In the
I don't
Old
know.
Testament,
I'm literally just
maybe.
saying,
You think it is?
would it?
And she's right, in the Old Testament, there's a lot of stuff that you can't do. There's a lot of shit that it tells you to do, too. It's pretty damn crazy as well.
If, let's say, like when God created man and woman, would it be against whatever your religion or God to basically say, God made me this way and I'm changing what God made?
She's
God
talking about it in
also made
nature.
you
just
Are
trans.
you religious?
Gosh, she said God also made you transgender. I hate that we get getting into this religious crap because it always goes off the rails. There's no logic or science or anything behind it.
By the way,
I am religious.
are you Muslim?
Yes.
She's talking about a nature distinction. She's saying if you cut your hair, that's not changing your nature.
is it not? You're
No,
literally
it's not. You're
changing
still
properties of
ontologically-
Yeah,
yourself.
it's not anatomically.
If you,
It's not.
okay. So
Wait,
do you
guys,
guys
one at a
believe?
time, one at a
Do you
time.
guys
Go ahead.
believe that what is it? Getting any type of surgery whatsoever, those
that's
people
not
are
like
sinning.
Elective surgery is not changing
it's
your
not
nature.
taking
You are
your
literally
dick off or
you're
taking
literally
your-
increasing your breast size or reducing it or
But
changing
you're
your
not-
physical appearance.
If we took a cat,
But you're
if
taking
we took a cat
testosterone.
and we
Right,
gave a cat breast implants, is it now not a cat?
You're changing its nature. You're
No,
changing
you're
how
not
it-
changing its
No, you're
nature.
not.
It's still a cat.
So you're
just-
saying
you're
cats
changing
naturally
its-
have breasts?
Probably
No,
not
what
changing
are you
its
talking
nature.
about?
Cats do have breasts.
Guys, one at a time. One at a time.
This is why my brain is just not being able to put words together right now. Because following these some of these women is just what crazy. If you put tits on a cat, does it make it a woman? I mean, this is a fair question. It's a very fair question.
An important question would be, say you take a cat and then you apply enough surgeries that it has a dog tail, dog ears, and then it starts barking all the time. Are you still going to call it a cat?
Yes.
That's the actual.
I'm going to think that there's something wrong with the cat and I need to take it to the vet and find out what's wrong with it because there's something not going right in the brain. And also the owner. Because why the fuck is the owner surgically manipulating a cat to be a dog?
question that we're dealing with.
Yeah, I'd call it
now,
a cat.
some people
That's
would
okay.
still
Okay.
call it a cat, right?
Because that's
I
its
call it a
nature.
mutant.
The issue is that the issue is that the issue that we're running to is if you define gender as essentially the performance, right? If you separate gender and sex, although I would argue gender is obviously downstream of sex, but if you treat them as separate words, then the question is why do we if you're going to say gender and sex are the same thing, why do we have two words? What's the purpose?
Can I add something?
Well, let's maybe.
Why do we have two words for shoe, loafer, sneaker, slipper? We have different words for the same thing. It's called synonyms. Synonyms. We don't have just one word for one thing. We have multiple words for them, but they all mean the same thing. Now, if you say woman and then you say ugly woman, that means something different, but it's still a woman.
Let's go around the table to give everybody an opportunity to answer these.
Like woman, lady, female, girl, gal, chick, babe, whole bunch of different words for the same thing, a female. And until like 10 years ago, or maybe 5 years ago, I don't know, whenever this insanity started, we were all on board. We all knew what we were talking about. But now the cult changing words around and infecting other people's brains, none of us can really have any sort of rational conversations because words have different meanings now. Now most of us just have jumped off the sinking ship. Because this is like someone who studies evolution debating with a creationist, someone who believes in God created man and woman, someone who believes in the Bible, and someone who is an atheist are going to have many different opinions that are definitely not going to align. And the conversation is pretty much moot. That is what the crazy gender people have done. They have influenced other people to change definitions of words that we all agreed upon. And they did this in order to make communicating with each other more difficult and more divisive, to divide us. And it's working.
The initial question, what is a woman? And then if you want to add any additional, go ahead.
I mean, what I was going to say is I just feel like with that argument, like obviously not every person is going to, agree with certain things or understand.
She's right. When you ask what is a woman to one person, they might say something different as, this other person. You know what other word people have different definitions about? God. Because everyone has different beliefs. Because people who believe in God have a different belief system than people that don't. Same thing with people who believe what a woman is a biological female as opposed to people who believe what a woman is a performance. It's religious. I mean, you got to see how this intertwines with culty religious stuff. This is a cult. It shows all the signs. Get kids while they're young, separate them from their parents, manipulate their brains, speaking certain ways, using certain words, having a certain script that they all like to use. They all talk a certain way. They all kind of look a certain way. Kind of reminds me of like the Heaven Gate cult. If you've watched documentaries on cults, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's very similar to a cult, which is why I don't like it.
Understand why people are trans. For me, I feel like the main core thing is if we know that their life expectancies are in their like 26, 27, 28, because for me, it's more of like whether or not you understand it, it isn't hard to respect somebody.
Oh my God, this woman has gotten so much bad information. There's two different things she's talking about. The life expectancy of quote unquote trans women, especially when they say trans women of color. That's because they're usually getting killed by partners or Johns, because a lot of the time they're prostitutes, which is a very dangerous profession, which is why the life expectancy, they say, is low among trans people? No, trans women, men who think they're chicks. Now, the suicide thing is something completely different, which has been completely debunked, referencing WPATH files, CAS report, Tavistock, all this stuff. This has all been debunked. The only information that they have or studies that they have pertaining to suicide and transitioning is that it reduces after a year, but they don't tell you what happens after that year, which is the suicidal ideations go all the way up. They increase, which is why you see so many detransitioners. Now, these crazy people will tell you that there is a very small percentage of detransitioners. Well, there was a small percentage of detransitioners, but now it's growing, and it's still growing because we keep on meddling in children's lives and young adults, telling them that if they want to feel better, they can transition and take some hormones. But what are the long-term effects? What are the long-term studies? There's one long-term study that was done. I believe it was I think it was Finland, which completely debunked all the rhetoric that is touted by the crazy gender activists.
To hold people emotionally hostage.
What part of that is holding someone?
Well, because if you say, I will remove myself from the equation if you don't do this thing I want, you're holding people emotionally hostage.
I mean, also, I feel like if you're not passing and someone accidentally calls you the wrong pronoun, like, yes, you're being, like, you shouldn't blow up on people for things like that. But if, like, if you're vindictively doing it, that's a different thing.
Yeah,
you know
but
what I
isn't
mean?
an emotional hostage taking to say, do this thing or else I'll hurt myself?
No.
I don't think any trans person is saying if you do not.
Well, then why would the argument come up then?
No.
She doesn't think any trans person. Does she know every single trans person? I love it. How as soon as someone says they're trans, they're automatically like these stupid women. They automatically are like, oh, you say you're trans? Oh, you're not a hostile white man. Someone who's oppressive. Now you're the oppressed and I have to feel bad for you. What? Now you're no longer a threat. Now you're not doing anything bad or evil. And I shouldn't question your motives. Trans is a way to manipulate stupid women. If a man says he's trans, he can get away with manipulating stupid women. That's what they're doing. And women like this are just very easy targets. She doesn't think that any biological man who thinks he's a woman, or says he's a woman, I should say, doesn't have any sort of evil motive. None of them? None of them.
I don't think any trans person is saying if you do
well,
not.
then why would the argument come up then?
No, but
where
see,
she
no,
says the reason we ought to do this is because these people could hurt themselves.
Yeah, there are absolutely transgender people who are saying, if you don't do this, I'm going to kill myself, right? And that's not.
Can we
Can't-
avoid?
But here's
Can
the
we
thing,
avoid
though.
like
I
saying
think-
delete?
I don't lie.
No, we can't say
other
that.
words,
Can you
other
say
words
delete
can't
yourself?
use. Sorry.
But I also think
That's why I was
like
careful
if someone, you can not agree or agree with something, but then like if someone came up to you and like said like to, you know, like respect them or whatever, I think that should be respected. But I also think like everyone has their own opinions and you believe in what you believe in. But then if you're like purposely like attacking somebody for what they believe in, then I think that's a little like, okay, like you shouldn't be doing that. But then at the same time, like everyone also believes in what they believe in. But when it comes to like a woman and or when it comes to transgender and like pronouns, like I saw this TikTok where it was like, okay, like if I told you,
This woman is maddening. Like, she keeps like saying like all the time, like instead of using words, she's using like constantly. Like, it's like really like annoying.
like if I told you, oh well, I need to be called beautiful and I need to be called smart, and if you don't call me that, then you're basically like, you know, you're wrong. Because it's like, isn't it really the same thing?
Or if they
like,
say that they'll hurt themselves
Yeah.
if you don't. If
What's
you
a
do
cup?
that,
I mean, define for me a cup or a sandwich. What's a cup or a sandwich?
a cup.
What is
You-
a sandwich?
Something a woman makes.
so this is the chair argument,
Joe,
right?
come
It
on.
is the
a little
chair
levity,
Yeah,
guys.
so you can never define completely what a chair
No,
is.
actually, that's not what I'm trying to say at all. I'm trying to say that we tend to define things in functional ways. That's the way that we use language, right? So, like, when we go like into like, what's a soup? Is a smoothie a soup? It's in part a stupid fucking question because nobody cares.
Yeah, but-
what we do is we act like smoothies aren't really soup, even though they kind of are in almost every single way, but they're not really, like nobody treats them like they're soup. So why we don't call smoothies soup.
I'm sorry, but smoothies aren't taking away the rights of soup.
And so this is a way where I'm breaking out to like, I wouldn't say that a trans person is a female. I wouldn't really be willing to confer those medical terms to them. But when it comes to woman, it's necessarily evolved as a word of functionality. And so it's like, it's really weird if you have Megan Fox, but she has a dick, for me to be like, oh, it's still a man. It's like,
I don't think
Yeah, it's still a man. It's still a man. If you're a straight woman, then that's a man. Then even if you think that man is a woman, that man can still impregnate you because a woman can't get you pregnant. Functionalities as definitions, that's a fucking functionality of a biological man to impregnate women. No matter how often he says, I'm a woman, how much he looks like a woman, unless he cuts off his beans and frank, he's still going to get you pregnant.
I think that that's less weird. So definitions also have definite ends. They have support for what the definition's supposed to be. So we can look at words, and then we can look at the words that support those words. What's the
Like the
word that
etymology.
supports the word
Yeah.
of woman? It's female.
It's not.
It is. It's always
not.
been. When is it never? When is it not?
If it's not okay, wow, she's saying it's not. Like what he just said right here, boom, 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 boom. Let's go back.
functionality. And so it's like, it's really weird if you have Megan Fox, but she has a dick, for me to be like, oh, it's still a man. It's like,
I think that that's less weird. So definitions also have definite ends. They have support for what the definition's supposed to be. So we can look at words, and then we can look at the words that support those words. What's the
Like the
word that
etymology.
supports the word
Yeah.
of woman? It's female.
It's not.
It is. It's all.
And it is. How we know this for a fact is because if female didn't relate to the word woman, didn't specifically define woman, then why are all these people, all these men transitioning to be a woman if what they're not trying to do is look female, is to be female? You could say a woman is anyone who identifies as a woman. So does a woman dress up like a hairy dog because that's their definition of woman? No. They dress up to look like a female because that's where the word woman originated from. If we're going to be talking about all these definitions and all this shit, you can't say I'm a woman without having it to relate to femaleness.
If this is true, and if I believe in a Christian God that could literally damn me to eternal fire for this, this is the most important thing in the world. So it's either I live by it or I don't believe in it at all, because it's kind of odd to believe in something like that and then cherry pick it.
So did you just decide to not live by it?
I feel like I couldn't trust the same church that was sending out millions of dollars of hush money, touching kids, taking gospels out the Bible. Most Christians don't even know about Mary Magdalene. Like, certain things aren't really.
You don't think the trans agenda is not doing that too? So why are these transgender women, men who think they're women, talking to children about genitalia, sexuality, and all that stuff? Because, they probably like kids in that special kind of illegal, disgusting way. So when they're saying, oh, the church is doing all this shit, yeah. The churches, Catholic Church, Christian Church, they have a bad rap. They don't surveil their own. When the Catholic Church would hear about a priest molesting children, they would take the priest and put them in another place with children. I didn't really see much of a difference between the Catholic Church and the trans agenda.
Like, certain things aren't really talked about, which makes me feel like I don't trust the church as much as I do believe in God, but I wouldn't say I believe in
This one.
I'm sorry. When I was younger, in my early 20s and such, trannies wasn't really a thing. It wasn't popular. You would see them every now and again, but it was a random thing. Now it's everywhere. Now all these freaking nut job men are claiming to be women in order to do really disgusting things, because not only are they heard for the first time because they say they're women, when they just said they were men, they didn't get heard. Now they have clout. People are listening to them. They're popular. They're making money. I mean, this is the best grift for men available today. And it really shows you the lack of intelligence with a lot of modern day women, because this is how they think. They literally think that if a man says he's a woman or is dressed up like a woman, that automatically he is no longer a threat, and he is honest, true, and a kind individual. This is bullshit.
Didn't trigger, but okay. Here, going around the table, what is a woman? I think you answered, correct? What about you?
I don't really know how to answer that.
It's okay. It's okay. We believe
a woman is someone who is feminine and
a woman is someone who wasn't born with testicles or a dick, wasn't born with a prostate, was born with a vagina. It's simple. The kind of gaslighting and manipulation that they've actually done to a lot of women nowadays, it's brilliant. This is a great way to control women. You could be a straight dude. You want to get a woman? You haven't had luck with women before? Pretend to be a woman. You don't even have to try that much. Just try a little bit. Put some lipstick on and walk outside. That's really all you need. Now, no longer are you a threat, but you can actually shame girls who aren't interested in you because you're trans. And you can actually make them feel bad. When before, if you were just a dude walking around, you couldn't do that. You would get harassed and shamed. But now you could turn the tables on these chicks immediately if you want to. It's brilliant. It's also evil as fuck.
And that doesn't mean that,
So as a trans woman who's looks like Megan Fox, a woman. If Megan Fox has a dick, is she a woman? But she looks like a woman, and she's super feminine.
She's not a woman.
Okay, so you don't think women are people who are feminine?
Well, that's what I was about to say.
If the dude who looks like Megan Fox has a dick, a lesbian is not going to sleep with him. By defining men as women because they have some sort of femininity, which is male femininity, might I add, because it came from man, they are not women. And if you're saying that, not only are you eradicating gays, you're eradicating lesbians, bisexuals, and straight people. There's no longer sexuality when you can say, like you really believe it, that men can be women.
That's what I was about to say, but I don't think. That's why I don't really know how to answer that.
She doesn't want to get canceled.
You want XX chromosomes in a vagina?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Except for hermaphrodites. You're not really sure about that.
Well, I was gonna.
Oh, you're gonna use hermaphrodites. How about you leave the hermaphrodites alone? They have nothing to do with this psychotic nonsense. Trans people, it's in their head. Hermaphrodites, it's because they were born not fully developed or fully functional. Trans people, it's in their head. They were born fully functional individuals. You're using people who have serious medical issues to defend your mental illness.
I'm sick of the argument that because there are two separate words, they must be different. What the diff between glad, happy, good? We all learned a word in elementary to describe this. Oh yeah, synonyms, idiot.
Okay. Huh? That's really stupid. Okay.
What if definition? Jesus, I can't say this word. Can anybody?
Definition.
What if definitionally, a cohort of people think that or believe that the word woman refers to a female and the word man refers to males?
Yeah. I mean, this is the issue with definition arguments. It's
Right.
like the way that societies come to definitions is super different. This is why when people are like, etymologically, it doesn't mean that. Nobody fucking cares, because that's not how we treat words unless they're like clinical medical words. And we got rid of all of these words from being clinical medical for the most part.
No. We also use the words to identify sexuality, who we are interested in and who we are not interested in, who we want to sleep with and who we do not want to sleep with. The absolute ridiculousness and the danger that this causes, she has no idea.
Part. So if society as a group decides that a woman is a woman with two X chromosomes exclusively, then everyone's going to function like that way. The problem is that it's still not very functional in a society if you've got Megan Fox walking around hiding her dick super well, because you're definitely not testing for people's vaginas and X chromosomes when you're.
But you're also not seeing the majority of trans women looking like fucking Megan Fox.
When you're just looking around. This is why gender's more of a performance and sex is a medical term.
No, it is actually useful.
That is true.
The truth is that society didn't have any problems with this. Society's never had any problems with this. Nobody was ever confused about who was a man and who was a woman ever. It never came up. Ever. It never came up. Yeah, it is
There
true.
is
Don't
so
come
much
up. Did I
historical
just let you talk
examples,
the
like
whole
Roman
time? I didn't say
Yeah,
anything.
just
let him talk. Let him talk.
So look, we really didn't have this problem. It was not a problem. You go back and read books in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. They're not talking about this. You read books from the 1800s, they don't care. Okay, it was not a problem inside of society. To know who was a female and who was a male, never been a problem. What has happened is special interest groups have moved in to the social sciences and have begun to fund studies and have begun to push an agenda in order to make this definition now get pushed out into the ethos. And like like Not So Erudite just said, right? What happens is in the sociological fields, they've already begun changing all of the definitions there, trying to get it to get changed out into the ethos, into the commons. But you know what? We really shouldn't have done that, and they don't have the authority to make that choice for other people.
Why do women mark female on government forms? There was a turning point recently where gender and biology combined again. Stop acting like I need to partake in and confirm people's fetishes, SMH.
Yeah, that's the other thing is autogynephilia and how many of the M to Fs suffer from autogynephilia.
Yeah.
It is definitely a fetish.
And there's a really big issue when you look at F to Ms as far as like comorbidities of like kind of canary disorders that we.
Okay, so yeah, here's the problem for women when it comes to men who think they're women. We don't want to be in a position where we have to guess. Is this guy, is he a creep, or does he have some sort of mental issues where he actually thinks he's a woman and he's struggling? We don't know the difference. Because we don't know the difference, it makes us very vulnerable to these people. That's the problem with self-ID. That's the problem with women like this who think that men could just be women and that's fine. And if I listen to this bitch anymore, I'm going to stick a fork in my ear. So, have a good one.